in Spain, a recent synagogue. Remember, Spain had a rich Jewish community, a very strong one. It was a Torah center of the world, and there was Spanish Inquisition back in the year 1492, where many of Spanish Jewry would go all over the world, and that's another class onto itself. But we're going to speak about today about the synagogue called the Beth Yaacov Synagogue, which is also known as Beth Yaacov Synagogue, you could say in English, or it's also known as the Synagogue of Madrid. I think it's a Jewish congregation and a synagogue. It's located 3 kilometers, as they say, in the Chamberí district of Madrid in Spain. So that's the first thing we say. I think it opened in the year 1968. It was the first new synagogue being built in Spain since the Catholic monarchs of Spain expelled the country Jews back in the year 1492. Very highly documented. It's like a more modern style, the way it's designed, the synagogue. I think the congregation as itself was established in the year 1917. A groundbreaking time came in 1964, and it was completed in 1968. I believe it's made out of brick materials. Now, obviously, we've talked about the early developments of the synagogue, let's just say. Jewish life in Spain's major cities existed in the later decades of the 19th century, but only, let's say, coalesced into organized bodies around the time period of the First World War. Now, the Jewish community of Madrid was formally established in the year 1917. The CJM, let's just say, as we call this the Jewish community over there, prayed at the Midras, a Bordenal synagogue on Calle Prenesi. I think it was the first Jewish house of worship in Spain since 1492. So we're talking about nearly 425 years approximately, but was not a new building. However, after the victory of Francisco Franco in the Spanish Civil War in 1939, the Spanish right wing moved against this so-called enemy elements, purportedly working in the interests of the Bolsheviks and Judeo-Masonic conspiracy, and the government subsequently shut down the synagogue in Madrid. Now, come with the year 1949, the community moved to the La Wenda Oratory, and a decade later, the community moved, let's say, to Calle de Pizarro, over there. Now, come with the late 1960s, the Jewish community in Madrid had grown rapidly. There were several reasons for this. I think, first of all, there was Spain's 1967 law on religious freedom granted full public religious rights to non-Catholics, including Jews. And in addition, there was Israel's victory over the coalition of Arab states in the Six-Day War in 1967, which would push a large population of Jews in Morocco to immigrate to Spain. This included a future chief rabbi we're going to speak about towards the end of the class, Rabbi Yehuda ben Asoli, a very great rabbi of Islam, who will be a chief rabbi for many years over there. Construction, 1959. The Jewish community in Madrid received permission to open an official synagogue. The community previously had operated out, as we said before, out of a private home. I'm reading this from Wikipedia, by the way. In 1964, the Jewish community in Spain was officially legalized as a political entity as part of Franco's 25-year of peace celebration. That year, the Jewish communities in Madrid and Barcelona created the Israelite Communal Council, and construction of a new synagogue building began in Madrid at that point in time. Now, it was a rectangular building designed by a Spanish architect, include a main sanctuary with seating for 550 people and space for education, social and community activities. The total cost, I believe, of 250,000 was covered by funds raised by the local community, and 150,000 from the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee and the Conference on Jewish Material Claims Against Germany. The sanctuary, decorated with Hebrew inscriptions, modeled after the synagogue of El Transito in Toledo, respectively. This is how it was, the synagogue itself was designed. And we've spoken about this beforehand. I think on various occasions before. Okay, now let's just look at the early history. I think it was on December the 16th in 1968, the Beth Yaacov Synagogue opened on Baum Street in Chamberí district of Madrid at a ceremony. I think it was attended by as many as 600 locals, let's say, and Jewish dignitaries from all over the world at that point. It was the first new synagogue built in Spain since 1492. The synagogue's first rabbi was Rabbi Benito Garzon, who had emigrated to Madrid from Tetuan, Spanish Morocco, and had earned his rabbinic ordination in London. On the same day as opening, the Spanish Military of Justice officially repealed the Alhambra Decree of 1492 that expelled practicing Jews from Spain. A letter announcing the repeal was presented to Samuel Toledano, who was the leader of the Federation of Jewish communities of Spain and read the pulpit of Beth Yaacov Synagogue, which would serve the city's 2,500 Jews. Notably, the repeal ended the requirement that Jewish people would obtain official permission from the Spanish government to hold religious services. Now, I think come what 1972, the synagogue unfortunately was vandalized by right-wing extremists associated with the far-right parliamentary organization Warriors of Christ the King. Now, Queen Sophia attended the Shabbat services at the synagogue, reported over in June 1976, making the first time in modern Spanish history that a member of the royal family had visited a Jewish house of worship. In addition, the visit was Sophia's first public appearance since her husband, King of Spain, Juan Carlos I, assumed the throne. Now, 1990 to present, I think it was King Juan Carlos I and Queen Sophia visited the synagogue on March 31st, 1992, to commemorate the 500th anniversary of the Alhambra Decree. The king wore a white kippah and prayed for peace with approximately 250 people in an 85-minute ceremony. I think the Los Angeles Times would actually even feature this in their newspaper, and they called it a remarkable gesture of reconciliation. While Queen Sophia had previously visited the synagogue, the event was a first visit by a Spanish king to a Jewish house of worship in the modern era. The Spanish royals were joined by the Israel president of that point in time, Chaim Herzog, Herzog's predecessor Yitzhak Navon, and Rabbi Solomon Cohen, and other, let's say, Israeli Spanish officials also were present at that point in time. At that thing, also present, most notably, was another famous person, or I think were descendants of Abraham Sr. and Isaac Abarbanel, it's reported over, who had unsuccessfully petitioned King Ferdinand and Queen Elizabeth. So they were actually present there at that point in time. Now, since 1997, so I think Rabbi Ben Asoli would be the chief rabbi for 20 years, till 1997. I believe Rabbi Moshe Ben Dahan has been the Marad Da'atra of the Beth Yaacov Synagogue as the chief rabbi of Madrid. It's actually interesting, Rabbi Ben Dahan's family actually fled Morocco in 1964, and he began his rabbinic service in Spain in 1986, the same year that Spain and Israel formally established diplomatic relations. The Beth Yaacov Synagogue functions as a Jewish community of Madrid's CJM, let's say the main Orthodox synagogue. The building houses CJM offices nowadays, a rabbinate, a mikveh, and a history of the museum. As of reported over, as of 2012, the Beth Yaacov Synagogue was one of 7 synagogues serving the approximately now 20,000 strong Jewish community in Madrid. So you can see the community has grown quite considerably. In 2021, the Spanish National Police, I believe, arrested a 68-year-old man for graffitiing. Unfortunately, you see the anti-Semitism that's been all throughout Jewish history. Unfortunately, disgracefully, he graffitied a Nazi swastika on one of the protective bollards outside the synagogue. More can be added within regards to it. He obviously, it's actually interesting, just to say a few more words with regards to Marad Da'atra, Rabbi Moshe Ben Dahan. He was obviously been there since 1997. Obviously fled from Morocco in 1964. When he was only 8 years old at that point in time, so he was born in 1956. He spent a few years learning at the Shivat Paratis of Rabbi Ben Dahan with Rabbi Shlomo Katzin in the old Sephardi's Beit Midrash, and Rabbi Ben Dahan returned to Spain in 1986 and then worked in education over there. I think that was the same year, obviously, of the diplomatic ties, as mentioned before, where Israel and Spain would make together. I think now, as of 2016, there's a kollel in Madrid, a mikveh, 4 kosher stores, one of which I think is packed with frozen meat and chicken and a wide variety of cheeses and salads. Actually, Mishpacha magazine did a feature on this in the English magazine. Rabbi, yeah, so he was very, he says that there's one of the main goals of Rabbi Ben Dahan was to strengthen Torah study over there. The best developed communities in the world are the ones with the best chinuch. So he was pointing that out in 23. I think the main yeshiva, there's a large Haredi presence as of 2016, is located at Kollel Torat Moshe in the Hortaleza section in North Madrid, has reported over 310 students in grades K-12, if I'm not mistaken, functioning since 2002. The Kollel sponsors more than 5,000 annual hours of Torah study for youth, adults and children. More than 60 professionals, reported over, set aside time for daily Torah study, this is as of 2016, either in Chavrutot or in Shirim. There's a woman of the name Estrella Bentolia, I think, whose father Yehuda heads Kehila as of 2016 of Ceuta, or a Spanish territory of contiguous Morocco. He's a maths teacher, science teacher, and Hebrew language to students, I think, grades 6 to 12. He actually stated himself, quoted in Mishpacha, "Education is my most important goal in my life. My students get high marks, and to me, that's because their Torah mark makes them wiser." That's how important it is. So great accomplishments have been made, let's just say, within regards to the synagogue itself. And I think Rabbi Goldschmidt, I think in 2016, would make a bracha of a king with Shem and Malchut. I think this is in 2016. And he actually consulted the famous British Rabbi Diane Chanoch Irontroy of London, and he would actually attend this specific day. And I think an award was actually given at that point in time, handed the king deposits, let's just say. An open Torah scroll was also given, lying on 3 closed Torah scrolls, let's say symbolizing the CER's mission to recreate a Jewish presence in Europe after the Holocaust. And that's very much spoken about. I think Rabbi Joseph Dweck at this ceremony would also talk about how important this is. He's a chief rabbi of the Sephardi community in the United Kingdom. He attended this ceremony, I think Madrid in 2016, and I think Rabbi Dweck himself hails from a family expelled from Spain who found refuge in Amsterdam, and I think he himself was born in Los Angeles and served as rabbi of Shari Shalom at Flatbush from 1999 to 2014, and was a principal of the Barkay Yeshiva in Brooklyn. So he was very much there at that point in time where, I think in 2016, when there was a ceremony. Rabbi Yehuda Ben Suli, let's mention a few words with regards to him because he's a key figure. He lived between 1933 to 31st of May 2010. I think his Hilula is on the 18th of Sivan. He would be the chief rabbi of Madrid between 1978 to 1997, a staggering 20 years. I think he was born into a Jewish family, in Alcazar Kabir, or Ksar el Kabir, you could say, which was in Spanish Morocco. And Rabbi Ben Soli's father, I think, passed away sadly when he was young, and he was very close to his uncle, Rabbi Yaacov Synagogue, who would help him with regards to yeshivot, helping him enroll in yeshiva, I believe in Meknes. Studied under the famous Rabbi Raphael Baruch Toledano, was one of the great rabbis of Morocco, especially in the last 150 years. And I think at the age of 18, Rabbi Ben Suli was ordained to the rabbinate. He received rabbinic ordination by Rabbi Toledano, respectively. I think more can be said within regards to him. I think 3 years after the establishment of Medinat Israel, I was obviously in 1948, more than 28,000 Jews immigrated from Morocco to Israel, including Rabbi Sebag, who we mentioned about before. And Rabbi Ben Suli still was in his 20s at that point in time. He became the rabbi of his hometown, Alcazar Kabir, in the early 1960s this was. And Rabbi Ben Suli, yeah, so that's very interesting. I think he'll be responsible also for Larash and Souk El Arba area. Rabbi Ben Suli was a chief rabbi of Madrid for 20 years, was fluent, I think his first language was Castilian Spanish. He was fluent in Hebrew, French, Arabic, Ladino, Hakatia, and some English also. So I think he actually arrived in Madrid in the year 1968, it's reported over. He was part of a massive, let's just say, Jewish immigration from Morocco after Israel's victory in the Six-Day War, 1967. When Rabbi Ben Suli arrived, the Madrid community was home to approximately 2,500 Jews, having grown from 300 in 1959. So it really, so he served as a mohel over there. He was a shochet, and he was a mashkiach also, as a kosher supervisor. So he had many, many dual roles. I think in this specific community, I think come what 1978 it was, around that specific year, he became the community's chief rabbi, succeeding Ben Ito Gershon, who was also from Spanish Morocco. In 1992, we spoke about at the beginning how he would host King of Spain, Juan Carlos I, and Queen Sofia. This was the 500th anniversary, remarking the cruel Spanish Inquisition, and there was a commemorative ceremony over there. It was the occasion marked the first time that the king had visited the synagogue in Spain. And in 1997, I think Robert Moshe ben Dahan would then take over in the position as head. It's actually, he passed away, Rabbi Ben Suli, on the 31st of May 2010, and was buried in the Ponevezh Cemetery in Bnei Brak, obviously in central Israel, I think near his mentor, Rabbi Baruch Toledano. So it's just a few tidbits within regards to this famous synagogue in Spain. It's an integral synagogue here in the 20th century. We're trying to explore on this channel history within regards to all the various Sephardic countries. We did a special edition on the special yeshiva in Bosnia and in Rhodes in Greece, and we're trying to explore different synagogues. We did this special feature on the various different synagogues in Turkey and other places also. So please, everyone, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to learn the Sephardic history, Oriental history in general. We're nearing 7,000 subscribers. So please, everyone, I'll appreciate it if all of you can subscribe to the channel. We record videos on great rabbis, great chachamim of yesteryear. We've already recorded biography videos of approximately more than 1,000 great rabbis of yesteryear from Ottoman countries, North African countries, also Spanish countries, territories, those different places in itself. So how important it is to learn about the great history of them. Get books. I would recommend everyone. There's a lot of books and information out there. There's a lot of information online about the great chachamim of yesteryear. So I can't advocate for that enough. And please, everyone, subscribe to our channel. We also record video clips on the daily page of Daf Yomi and Parshat Shavua. We have a great rabbinic personality every single day that also let's say, contributes to the channel. We're very, very lucky over here. Wish you all a fantastic day, friends. Take care, be well, and learn Torah and enjoy. We're coming into Tisha B'Av. Let's go out of our way and bring about more ahavat chinam. Treat other people with more respect. Maybe if we've wronged someone, let's get forgiven from them. I'm wishing us all blessings and a safe world and safety all over Israel and for all the peoples of the world. Wish you all well and thank you for watching. Thanks.